Tonight, a Saskatchewan man is handed a 17-year prison sentence for sexually abusing children. Regina City Council debates how to trim down the city's budget.
I want to get at least 10 interceptions this year, personally.
And a returning Riders defensive star has lofty goals for the season ahead.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Wednesday, May 21st, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. I'm Ethan Williams. Thank you for joining us. A Saskatchewan man has been given a lengthy prison sentence after admitting to committing chilling acts against young children in several communities in our province over a number of years. Alexander Kwan was in court in Moose Jaw and has our top story.
A man who admitted to sexually abusing children for almost 3 decades has been sentenced to 17 years in prison. It's the longest ever sentence handed out in Saskatchewan for these type of crimes. Richard John Dyke pleaded guilty to 10 counts of sexual interference, child pornography, and voyeurism earlier this month. In exchange for the plea, the Crown stayed 73 other charges. During a sentencing hearing earlier this month, it took the prosecutor 20 minutes to report the acts Dyke committed against 33 victims in small towns across Saskatchewan. The horrendous details were so bad that the judge immediately placed the document under seal. On Wednesday, some of those victims and their families were able to confront Dyke here at the provincial court in Moose Jaw. Victim impact statements expressed how some were left voiceless and scarred by Dyke's actions. Others described pushing their family members away or acting out. Many said they now lack the ability to trust others and remain in a state of paranoia. The Crown prosecutor says the guilty plea helped avoid multiple trials requiring the testimony of many children, and the sentencing means a new chapter for the victims.
Doing the work that they did on this file, and they were relieved that at long last it seems as if some closure is coming.
Dyke sat quietly and stared at the ground during Wednesday's hearing. At his last appearance, he admitted he knew his choices were wrong and said he didn't want to make guesses on why he made them, because those would sound like justifications. The 17-year sentence was agreed to by the defense and Crown prosecutors. With credit for time served, Dyke will face just 15 years in prison. Alexander Kwan, CBC News, Moose Jaw.
Regina City Council put their heads together Wednesday to chop off $1.5 million in the city's budget. It's all in order to meet a commitment they made back in March. Council needed to find the savings to lower this year's mill rate by 0.5%. Originally, 34 city employees were slated to be terminated, but that plan was scrapped after backlash. On Wednesday, city administration presented council with 13 possible program cuts. That included everything from workplace improvements to mosquito control.
I would encourage my colleagues to not reduce the capacity of the city manager's office to move forward priority items as it relates to that $250,000. And I certainly have an expectation that the people of Regina aren't interested in us reducing our mosquito control services or dust suppression.
But in the end, most of the money was found through savings in the now defunct carbon tax. And by rolling back spending on facility upgrades, Council will begin debating the 2026 budget later this year. Saskatchewan's delay in signing on to the National Child Care Program is hurting military families. That's according to the opposition NDP. It wants the province to sign on to Ottawa's $10 a day program. At a news conference Wednesday, military families gathered to discuss the challenges they face without affordable daycare. One woman, who's a nurse and the wife of an infantry soldier, says military families are often isolated and living away from family, and the only way she can work as a nurse is with affordable childcare.
In today's economy, 2 incomes is a complete must for raising a family. When I look at our province and see that we have yet to sign onto this childcare deal extension, I do feel unseen. Families like mine will be posted to Saskatchewan only to find out that the cost of childcare will nearly quadruple without this. And then spouses like me will not be able to work. This is going to be further isolating military spouses, which already makes for a challenging family dynamic.
Most of the other provinces and territories have signed on to the national program. The provincial government has said in the past that it looks forward to negotiating and signing a new child care agreement with the federal government while listening to families and daycare operators around the sustainability of the program. Young entrepreneurs in Saskatchewan now have access to more capital to get their businesses off the ground. The province is providing nearly $1 million over the next 3 years to the Saskatchewan Chamber of Commerce. That money will be shared with 57 entrepreneurs across the province, each getting $5,000 to develop their businesses.
We were extremely pleased to help bring this campaign promise to life. I think it's a really important investment that the government of Saskatchewan has made in our province and in the young entrepreneurs in our province. This is an initiative that will certainly help promote entrepreneurship in our province as a whole.
The Young Entrepreneurship Bursary also comes with mentorship opportunities and peer networking. Entrepreneurs aged 18 to 35 are eligible to apply. The business does have to be a for-profit and based in Saskatchewan. Applications are open until July 14th. Training camp for the Saskatchewan Roughriders is now winding down, and the rainy Wednesday morning did not keep them off the practice field in Saskatoon. The Riders are just days away from their first preseason game. All quarterbacks expecting to take at least a couple of snaps during the exhibition match, and the offensive line is working on timing ahead of weekend play.
Just overall, you want to make sure that the guys have been through scenarios for this, the operation. You know, we're in the huddle properly, we're in and out of the huddle, so we're not up against the time clock. We can get the calls out from the quarterback, from the centers to the receivers and things like that. It's just getting to the games because it's going to feel really fast. When you get to the games, the preseason feels fast, the second one's even faster, and then regular season's faster than all of them.
Meanwhile, the Riders' defense is getting into gear, but it's going to be tough for one defensive back to improve on last season's body of work. That's Roland Milligan Jr., who was named the CFL's most outstanding defensive player. Scott Larson reports.
Over the middle, intercepted, sliding underneath. Who else? Roland Milligan.
Milligan Jr., who's from Lake Wales, Florida, grabbed 8 interceptions and made 71 tackles in 2024. But he says there's always room for improvement.
Blitzing for one, my blitzing wasn't great last year. I missed a lot of sacks when I had opportunities to make them. I dropped a few interceptions that I should have had, so I can always be better there, just making sure I capitalize on all those opportunities too.
The 30-year-old is entering his 5th year with the Riders, and he knows younger players are looking up to him.
Last year I started to get in that role. I'm trying to be a better leader. You know, it's still kind of new to me as far as leading the room, but you know, just talking with Coach Bell, Coach Jalen, and even Coach Mace, just trying to nitpick and make sure I'm doing what I can to help our group and then overall help the team be better.
Milligan Jr. says the team is ahead of where they were last year, and they'll continue to push themselves individually and as a team to reach the ultimate goal.
I always tell myself don't miss opportunities. Even last year I told Coach Bell that, and I ended up missing probably 3 to 4 opportunities. So just making sure I catch all of them, but I want to get at least 10 interceptions this year personally. And then, you know, as a group, we still trying to win the Grey Cup, trying to get first place in the West, get that home bye, and win the Grey Cup.
The Riders continued training camp all this week at Griffith Stadium in Saskatoon. Their first exhibition game is on Saturday against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers in Winnipeg. Scott Larson, CBC News, Saskatoon.
Well, this weather may not make you feel like gardening, but many have started to fill their pots and garden plots now that the long weekend has come and gone. And if you're looking to get your garden started, well, we have some handy tips from gardening expert Ashley Essican.
I think the big 3 questions that I got were, how do I protect my plants if they are outdoors already and they're not in a mobile container? And the answer to that is just simply to cover them, usually with a bed sheet. If you can give them a little bit more than that, ideal world, you would. Then the other common question actually was people who are starting to harden off their plants. So they hadn't actually planted them yet, and they were just going through the process of hardening them off. And now they're panicking, thinking that they're going to be inside for probably the whole week. And they wonder if they have to start back from scratch. And the answer to that is no, you don't have to start from scratch. You don't have to do another, 2-3 weeks of hardening off. The plants are pretty versatile in that way, so they should be okay. And then the other question is generally just, can I start hardening off in this weather? What can I do in this weather? And to be honest, there are a lot of seeds that you could plant right now. You can take a thermometer, test the soil temp. If it's around that 10 degrees Celsius mark, I would try to get some of the cooler climate root crop seeds in the ground, because this rain is just going to propel them into some really crazy growth.
Well, the rain coming to an end means you can hit the links again in Regina. These golfers enjoying a round at the Royal Regina Golf Club Wednesday. Looks like they'll finally have some sunshine to golf in very soon, and maybe have some drier fairways as a result too. They'll be nice and green though. Helena has the weather details in her forecast after the break. Stay with us. Saskatoon's Emily Clark scored the overtime winner for her PWHL Ottawa Charge Tuesday. It puts the Charge up 1-0 in their playoff series against Minnesota. The league is showing major growth on and off the ice in its second season. Sarah Levitt has that story.
Two teams, one goal. As the puck drops in the final series of the Professional Women's Hockey League's second season, the league and its players have built a steady and fervent fan base.
Phillips makes the early save.
A sophomore season building the case for even more women's hockey. According to the PWHL, the league averaged nearly 7,500 fans per game, up from 5,500 last season. Helping attract those fans was the so-called Takeover Tour, showcasing the league's talents in 9 cities that don't have teams.
The quality of our hockey is so high and so much fun, so we want people to have the experience live, not just via social, not just via TV. So important for us to get out to different markets for people to see what we have to offer.
The enthusiasm and engagement worked. Next season, 2 expansion teams will join.
We got a team!
Vancouver and Seattle will bring the league to 8 teams. But expansion comes with sacrifice. Those new teams will get the chance to pick players from existing ones. And some cleaning out their lockers aren't sure if they'll be back, including Montreal's Erin Ambrose.
There's a lot of unknowns. There's a lot of anxiety around it. But I also am really excited because it means that our league's doing something good.
Still, if she is ultimately scooped up,
let's not be the one that cries on media day.
I think that one of the challenges is going to be how to not alienate the fans of the existing teams.
Fans could be disappointed in losing some of their favorites, but teams for now can protect 3 players from the expansion draft.
And it's going to be interesting to see how they thread that needle and see whether they can continue that kind of growth, right?
The league thinks it can be done, hoping the growth of their game is just beginning. Sarah Levitt, CBC News, Montreal.
And weather specialist Helena Mahalik joining us now with an update on some recent severe weather in the province. Helena.
Yeah, that's right, Ethan. We've actually already seen our first tornado of the year in the province. Now, this happened this past Saturday in southwestern Saskatchewan. It was rated EF0, which is the lowest rating for a tornado. And we have a photo to show you of it as well. Now, this photo is courtesy of Dre Irwin and was taken in the Maple Creek area. I spoke to Environment Canada about this, and they say it's still pretty early in the season for tornadoes, and they're typically caused by hot, humid weather, which was not the case here. But they confirm the tornado wasn't very strong.
Typically, when we see these types of situations, you could get brief touchdowns, and they're typically not long-lasting or particularly dangerous, but they can toss, some debris around for a short period of time.
Now, that tornado was Saturday, but as we look at our radar Wednesday where we're seeing those lightning strikes, there's another possibility of a tornado in areas around Swift Current, Kindersley, and Rosetown, where thunderstorms continue for those areas. And we're also seeing some more storms around Saskatoon and Regina and south and central Saskatchewan into Wednesday. We have been seeing the rainfall for a few days now, but as we get into Thursday, we'll see some relief from that. Still a chance in the Churchill region, in around La Ronge, some scattered rain showers, but overall a nice clear next few days for the province. We're going to be seeing some clear skies, just a little bit of cloud coverage. The southwest can't totally catch a break, though, as we get into Friday afternoon. Another chance in and around Swift Current and close to the border there. That will continue into Saturday, and the rain will actually move closer to Saskatoon into central Saskatchewan there. So we've been seeing a few days of rainfall, but again, most of which is in the southwest. So areas like Maple Creek by Saturday could experience up to 6.9 millimeters of rain, whereas the rest of south and central Saskatchewan will be experiencing some light rain, so less than 3 millimeters of accumulation there. But it has caused temperatures to dip down Wednesday. Southern Saskatchewan below the 10-degree mark, central Saskatchewan barely just above that. But as we look to the north, things are feeling much warmer there, and actually the farther north you get, the warmer it is, temperatures even getting to the 20-degree mark there, so feeling quite warm in those areas. We have been seeing some wind gusts Wednesday night in and around the northern grain belt and into the north, up to 50 kilometers an hour wind gusts in that area. We will see a little bit of a breezy Thursday for much of the province. Again, the north experiencing up to 40 kilometers an hour winds, but much of the province just going to experiencing a little bit of a breeze. The rest of Friday, though, we will be seeing that continue, but again, light winds. The Swift Current area in the southwest could get up to 40 kilometers an hour. Rest of the province, a lighter breeze. Now, we have been seeing the past few days very cold, chilly temperatures in south and central Saskatchewan with a low pressure system. But that's getting changed to a high pressure system Thursday. As the rain is stopping, we're going to be seeing some drier conditions. And as we get into Friday, temperatures are really going to skyrocket, and into Saturday as well. So, Ethan, it'll be a beautiful weekend after all in the province.
Yeah, tornadoes, rain, hot temperatures. You never know what May is going to throw at you here.
A little bit of everything, as usual.
Exactly. All right, Helena, thanks very much.
Thanks, Ethan.
Well, researchers at the University of Saskatchewan have made a breakthrough in cancer research using genetic screening. One of the leaders on that research team spoke with Stephanie Massicott about their work.
Let me start by saying the motivation behind the study, and so you can appreciate it much better. So when it comes to cancer, one of the biggest challenges is something called as tumor heterogeneity, which is basically a fancy word for saying not all tumor cells are alike. And so people have been trying to go for combination therapy to look for how to inhibit different kinds of cells by using different drugs. And so this has been one of the approach that has been kind of used in the clinic over several years. And our vision has been like, rather than looking at the differences between these cancer cells, can we look at some of the unifying factors that actually are common for all the cancer cells? And so there is this enzyme called polo-like kinase 1, and the way we actually identified is when this enzyme is actually overproduced in cancer cells, what is the other target that we need to inhibit so that we can eliminate the general dependencies of almost all the cancer cells. I actually explained this to my students as like an Indian movie where, there's this super bad villain and he let's say in Indian, most Indian movies, there are these politicians who is the super bad guy. And then there are these corrupted police officers or corrupted judicial system. Mm-hmm. And so if you think about the bad enzyme PLK1 as this corrupt police officers, rather than just trying to inhibit that guy, we actually look for the hitman that PLK uses. So can we actually block PLK by inhibiting some of these hitmen like the corrupt judicial system and so on? And so that basically disables the cancer cells and make them die. And that's really the crux of the whole research, actually.
We'll see this sign. Well, it won't be around much longer in the city of Moose Jaw. The city is reducing speed limits in its playground zones, but it is giving you a bit of a grace period here to get used to the change. The speed limit has gone down from 40 to 30 kilometers an hour. The grace period goes from now until June 20th. That gives city crews enough time to change over the signs as well. The new speed limits are in effect from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Stay with us. We're back after the break. Canada Post has rejected an offer from the Postal Workers Union to delay a potential strike by 2 weeks. The union had asked for the pause to consider the latest proposals from the corporation. It comes just days after Canada Post said it received a strike notice. Tens of thousands of postal employees could hit the picket lines Friday. It would be the second strike in less than 6 months. Weekend work remains the sticking point in negotiations. Canada Post wants to hire part-time staff for Saturdays and Sundays to address rising parcel demand. The union representing postal workers is proposing a shift in schedules for full-time employees to include some weekend work. And nothing will stop the postal workers from their round, including the weather. Helena, how are things looking?
Well, for those hitting the picket lines, it'll be very warm weather, so at least there's that. Temperatures are going to be increasing. Let's take a look at the weather conditions in Regina. So as we're seeing the rain is stopping, the gloomier conditions because the sun is coming back, raising temperatures back to around seasonal for this time of year. As we get into the weekend, temperatures will get back to the 20-degree mark, and then as we get into next work week, even higher, closer to the 30-degree mark. So more warm weather is coming our way with a high pressure system, a few breezy days, and again, overnight will be around average or above average with the warm weather. And same thing in Saskatoon. The sun is coming back out throughout the whole next week, and temperatures will be rising to the 20-degree mark by the next work week, even raising potentially above 30 degrees. Again, a few days here and there with a breeze though, but overnight we are seeing temperatures rising above seasonal for this time of year. Into next work week, Ethan, we could be even seeing temperatures overnight into the teens. So a very warm next week ahead of us.
Back from spring right into summer once again.
Always something.
Always something. Thanks so much, Helena.
Thanks, Ethan.
And before we leave you, the Saskatoon Forestry Farm, Park and Zoo has a couple of new residents. These are Gila monsters. They are one of the few venomous lizards in the world, and they're named after the Gila River Basin in Arizona, where they were first discovered. They're known for their colorful skin, which can include the tones of orange, pink, and black you see there. The zoo says they're important additions to its education programs, and you can see them for yourself in the zoo's Gila monster habitat at the Affinity Learning Center. Nice and cuddly. That is it for us. For more news anytime, you can head to our website or subscribe to the CBC Saskatchewan YouTube channel. You can also download the CBC News app on your smartphone or tablet. Thanks so much for watching.